In this tutorial, we're going to cover recreating a drawing like this. So it's a water feature detail, something similar to that that you've had to produce for Albury. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly run through the step by step how you would go about setting up something like this. So a plan and a section. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is in AutoCAD, you're going to make sure that you start a new drawing driven by your template file. Okay, so I'm going to start a new drawing driven by the template file. I want the template file so that I don't have to, all my dimension styles are preset and my font styles are preset. So that's what you want to do. And remember, we need to work around the origin. Now, if you're going to use some images as references, just remember you can bring those in. You can drag and drop them into the display, or you could use the view, you can open up your external references, and you can simply just go and attach an image here as well. So in our desktop, we can find, this is the screenshot. I'm just going to use this as a screenshot that I've taken. Okay, and I'm just simply going to open this up and put it in my origin. So 0, 0, 0, enter. Okay. I'm not going to worry about scaling this because I'm just going to use it purely as a reference. And I can show you how you can use, you can split your display up into two so that you've always got a reference in one view and you've got image in the one view and you can work on the other side. Okay. So first thing we need to do is have a look at this imported image. Just make sure it's at a decent scale. So here I can see it's very small, so let's make this 1000 meter by meter. It's good enough. I don't have to change the aspect ratio. Will keep as is. We can't change that in any case. So that's good. And just move it away from your origin because you want to work with your origin. Okay, so this is just a reference, a sketch that you've taken. It could be an aerial photograph of something on campus that you've captured, or something that you've gone and measured. All right, so this is pretty straightforward. The first thing you need to do is you need to go and get some layers that will work for us. So what I'm going to do is, you'll notice straight out the bat, we have a whole lot of layers. A lot of them are not really necessary, so maybe that's what I need to clean up first. I don't need certain, like the brick detail, I can keep. The concrete floor, maybe this floor concrete I can keep. So a lot of these I can keep. Hatch I can keep. But there's a lot of stuff in here that I don't need. There is timber bench, so we can use a lot of these layers for now. But sometimes there's just a bit of an overkill, and let me show you how to go and get rid of that excess information. So the first thing I'm going to do is you can copy, you can also delete a lot of the stuff. I'm going to leave it here for the time being, but what I am going to clean out straight away is just the layers. There's too many layers that you need to work with. I'm giving you a lot of layers to start with, but just remember, we're going to start getting rid of that stuff. Sometimes, especially if you're going to share information, it's good to purge out the information you don't need. So I'm going to purge some of the layers that I don't need. I'm going to check none. I'm just going to go to layers. And here in the layers, I just want to get some of these, like these dimensions external. I don't need dimensions internal. Door fire I don't need. DPC we do need. Drain I don't need. I don't need electrical. Floor concrete I keep. Floor joist. The rest of this I'll get rid of. Furniture I'll leave. Hatch I'm going to leave. Heat I don't need. Sorry, let me just do this again. Let's uncheck all of these. So the ones that are checked will be deleted. So I don't need brick detail, leave. Building line I don't need. That I don't need. That I don't need. So let's just quickly select all of those, and then we can uncheck the ones that we want to keep. DPC, drain. Actually, DPC I want. Brick detail I want. Dims external I want. Detail items I might leave. Now I'll get rid of that. Building line I don't need. Furniture I'll need. Viewports I'll need. So here, just go and clean out the layers that you don't need. Okay. Trees I might keep because you want to show trees. Timber section, that I want to keep. Walls below, these I'll keep. Water I'll keep. Window X I won't. There's no windows. So I just want text notes. So text notes, that's all I want to basically keep. So get rid of that. DPC I want. So I just want to say text. There should be a notes. Okay, but just the stuff that we don't necessarily need. Okay, so we'll keep. I'll just keep text out. I'll just keep a text layer. I don't need all of those other layers. Okay, lights I don't need, lofts I don't need. Okay, those insulation I need. Okay, hatch I don't want to delete. I want to keep those floor spans. I want to keep floor concrete. I want to keep details. I'll keep one of those text layers. I'll just keep this one. The rest I'll delete. Timber I'll keep. This I'll keep. This I'll keep. Trees I'll keep. Water I'll keep. Timber, keep those. Text, all that rubbish you can kill. Stud outlines, site boundaries, sewage. You might want to keep all this services kind of information. Roof timbers I don't need. Drain, plaster, M vents, lofts. Yeah, the rest of that I can purge all items. Purge these items, purge these, yeah, close. Okay, now if we go to our layers now. Great, so here it's kept some of the layers that I need to work with, and that's all I'm going to work with for the time being. Okay, the first thing what you're going to try and do is you're going to use your construction line. So if you've been working with this information, these pallets, okay, if you've worked with these pallets, then this will be quite easy because you would have preset the construction layers and that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the construction layer, X line. So it's a construction line. So this tool you can just find in here as well, construction line, beef vertical 0, 0, 0. So that's my first bit of line work. Okay. Now what you can do as well, in view, you can go to viewports, you can say 2 vertical. So what is neat is you can have the image zoomed in on the one side, and all I'm looking for is just these overall dimensions over here. Okay, so I just want to start using from here. So my first overall, I'm going to say, I'm going to offset this line. So let's just keep the zoom in over here, close this. So keep that, probably like that. So my first offset is going to be this line over here. Okay, so I'm going to go and say offset over offset. Just remember, this is the construction layer that we're working on at the moment. And you might want to make sure that it is your construction line that you're working with. C for con. Okay, make sure it's construction line. Okay. I'm going to say X line again, but because I've got a construction line already, I can just simply use the offset command, which will be this command over here, offset, and it's asking me for a distance, and I can go 3630, and I can offset this in this direction. So there's my first bit of line work, so that 3630, and then I need to offset this again by 4829. Okay, so I'm going to go offset 3829. We can do some final details a bit later on. Okay, then we go X line horizontal. I'm going to make this X line horizontal 0, 0, 0. Okay, this should have also been in the con layer. I don't know why it should have double clicked that. Should become a default layer. Yeah, my construction layer is now the default layer. So now I'm going to give it about 1 meter offset. I can make this corner over here. Oh yeah, just one last thing. If you're going to work over this image, just remember change its fade. Okay, so I'm going to use this as my origin corner. So this must be offset by 5435. So I'm going to say offset 5435. So I'm just creating some boundary boxes in which to work. Okay, so that's this total offset to there. Okay, now what's nice is I've got some good dimensions to start drawing this brick wall from. So it's a 220 brick wall, and it's going to go 3630, which I've got already. I've got this first dimension over here. And you can use some preliminary, you can use some dimension lines. You can use these prelim dimensions just to help you kind of set this out. And I can see already there was a mistake here. You know, that should have been offset by 4829. So very strange. Offset 4829. That could get you into a lot of trouble. So let's just use this. And I might just change my scale that I'm working with. Just remember the scale, you need to activate these need to be on because you want to associate a scale every time you change scale. So I'm going to change this one to 50. That's better. All right, great. And DI, just use this tool again. Okay. 5435, that's good. Okay. So now we've got some dimensions. So basically, I'm just creating some setting out dimensions on how this works. Okay, and what I'll probably draw first is I'm going to draw the wall structures first before I do all the edging. Okay, so I'm going to generate this wall structure very quickly. And I should have an overall dimension somewhere, and it looks like it's a meter. So it's 220 and it's a meter. So I can go and say offset 1000. Okay, now I've got my first little, and it must be offset by offset 1230. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is go and pick a good layer. So I'm going to say walls exterior, change that as my layer. Now I'm going to use my polyline tool. I'm going to go and find my polyline tool. Now I'm going to simply start here. We're going to have an issue because it needs to come back 220 mil from there. So here we can go from there, we can shift right click from, and we can come back 220. Okay, now we can continue, and here we can just simply hover and hit C for close. Okay, so what it's done is it's made a polyline, and we can simply say offset 220. Sometimes this will work, sometimes it won't, and there I've offset it by 220. Okay, so we're going to have our first, oh yeah, by the way, this needs to be stretched out, stretch by 220. Okay, just because there was a dimension that we had missed here. All right, so I've got my first bit of brickwork in place. Okay, now I can start from this side. Okay, so let's just see where that last dimension went to. So that 5, this one's total dimensions. Let's see if there's a total dimension on this side maybe. No, there's not. Okay, but it looks like it's 2000 in this direction, so we should have picked up maybe another 2000 here. But I can see there's a slight discrepancy with brickwork there, at 215. Technically, you want to work with 220. Okay, this is quite deliberate because sometimes this is picking up, this is actually incorrect. That should have been 220. Okay, so that's a slight discrepancy there. But I mean, that's easy to address. That is easy to fix. I've got my first bit of line work. I'm happy with that. And what it's given me this line where I can use, where that edging will start. So if we look at the sketch here quickly, we can quickly denote the edging. But for now, I'm pretty happy with what I've got here. I just want to reproduce this guy, and I've got an overall dimension here. And here I've got, it's 2000 by 2000, I'm guessing. Okay, but I can do this 1000. So this one looks like it's slightly bigger. So it's 1000, 215 plus 1000. 1000. That goes back to there. Okay, so that's 1000 to there. And then it's another 1000 from there. Okay, so it's 1000. So we're going to go and say offset 1000. Offset 215. And then offset 1000. We can get rid of those. We can get rid of this line for now because we don't need that line anymore. Okay, so now we've got our 1000, 215, 1000. And we're going to say offset 2415, 2415. Okay, and this starts in exactly the same row, and then offset 2000. Okay, now we can simply just use the rectangle command, and I'll make sure that these line up because I've got a feeling I'm going to change that dimension ever so slightly. So this one I'm going to stretch from there. I'm going to want it to Okay, I'm going to use a construction line, vertical. Just use the match tool. And then I can stretch this bit of line work. Stretch. Okay. That's better. I'm going to say offset 220. Okay. Polyline. Just so that you know, I've got this option on where it will cycle through objects that you're hovering. So if it's not on and I'm trying to select objects here, there's objects beneath, you can use this tool and then it'll ask you what do you want to select. Okay, so that's a handy little tool to have as well. Okay, now you can see very quickly I've managed to reproduce a lot of this information. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of some of the construction lines that I need in here. This construction line, this one I'm going to leave because it determines my steps. I'll leave that one in place. The rest I don't need. For example, I don't need that, I don't need that, and I don't need that construction line anymore. The rest I do need, so I'm going to use construction line again. So just remember, you can, I noticed this tool was working. So here I can use my construction line tool, horizontal, because that's where we're going to offset 215, because this, I think this is where the confusion came in. It's actually a 210 Berkeley. But yes, its physical size is that, but sometimes what happens sometimes is we will give it a tolerance of 5 mil. Okay. So if I said 215, it gives me some tolerance with this exact block. So yes, this dimension is 215, but it just means that we're giving ourselves like a 5 mil gap between the edge of the paver. So I'm going to stick with the 215 for now. Offset 215. Okay, I'm going to say offset 215 because this line we've got here as well. Okay, now, and that continues in that line there, so offset 215. Okay, in this case, what we could do is just use a polyline. So I've got this line over here, so here I can just say offset 829, offset 215. There we go. This one is offset. So this is total 1430. 430. Okay, then offset 215. Look, this is easy to adjust later on. I'm just getting the bones in place. Okay, so now I've got where my paving is going to run, and now I've got all that kind of information. So I'm going to quickly regenerate this pond area and the edging of the pond. So that will be that layer. We can use like a brick layer. We can say paving edge or edging. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a new layer and just make sure all of that information is correct. So I'm going to say new layer. I'm going to call this edging. Okay. And then this one, I'm going to change back down. So this edging, I would make it about 2 mil. Okay. That's good enough for now. And I'll change this to white for now. This edging color. Okay. That's fine. I'm going to double click and make it my current layer. And it'll be my current layer. Now I can simply just use a polyline again. You can use polylines or lines, but polylines, you want to try and use a polyline rather because it just gives you a better result. So this line, I'm simply just going to trace, and because these construction lines give me points from which to work. So here I'm just quickly making a quick closed series of polylines. Okay, it just makes it easier to hatch. So if you want to hatch these objects, it's much easier to hatch. But just remember, we're going to have junctions where brickwork will stop and continue. We'll use a hatch layer to kind of regenerate that. But that's good enough for now. And then this order, just remember your hierarchies. The thicker bit of line work will come to the front. These will go to the back. Just one thing to bear in mind. If you've used the line tool, it's very easy to convert these back into polylines if required. So you can go to modify, you can go and find the polyline edit tool, polyline. It's going to ask you select, I'm going to say multiple because I want to select multiple bits of line, and it's going to ask you, do you want to convert these to a polyline? You're going to say yes, and then all you're going to do is you're going to join them all. That's fine, spacebar, and then you're just going to say done. Now they're joined polyline. The joined polylines, they're just easier to work with and they're easier to close. So it's just good practice to work with polylines. Look, it's not a total requirement. It's just, it just makes things work a lot easier. Okay. All right, so that's done. And now I can introduce my step line. I'm going to keep the same edging layer for now, and I'm going to offset that. So just remember a typical step. It's 250 to 300, so I'm just going to say offset 300. I'll put that on the stair layer maybe if required, but I'm just generating where my stair's going. And here I'm going to have polyline, one more bit of edging. I don't have to make a complete loop because I've got it there already. And let's just see over here. Yeah, so this line just continues. No, it's a slightly different line. So that was offset 1000. Okay, so I don't need that anymore. I don't need that anymore. I don't need that anymore. Okay, that's good. And I don't need that anymore. I don't need that anymore. Okay, now I'm just going to use offset 1000, offset 215. Here we can go polyline, but here we can just use a rectangle. Rectangle, that intersection and that intersection. Just remember, switch on your on snaps if you want your on snap settings, or shift right click. So shift right click allows you to access these on settings. Okay, that's interesting. You can force it. This is a quick, here you can set your on snap settings. You can keep adding, removing things, but generally it just opens up and you can just add what you want to add here. And that just switches it on and off. That's to cycle objects, and that's to switch on and off. Your F3 key. Okay. All right, so I've got my edging in place. I've got my brickwork in place. Now I just need to establish where my fountain, where the stone feature occurs. So here I'm going to use a construction line, vertical, leaf vertical, F3. I'm going to say offset 750. Just remember, if you're using offset command, it will use a current layer. Remember, sorry, and then offset again, 1500. Okay, and now I've got an offset from here. So it's 300, 300, 400. Okay, so X line, horizontal. But I'm going to show you another technique to kind of get that going. So here I'm just going to draw a rough rectangle. Shift R. It's the correct width already, and we need to add it to this walls layer. So if you have used the wrong layer, you can simply use the match tool, select the source object, and then override. Okay, so that's how you would do it. So this is going to be stretched. So using the stretch command, stretch from, so here, while the command's active, shift right click, you're going to say from, you're going to say from there, and you're going to drag it back 300. 300. That would have fixed that dimension there. Use the stretch command again. Just remember, if you've used stretch already, spacebar, repeat the command. So that's exactly what I'm doing. And here I'm going to say stretch, shift right click from here, that's 400, 400. Okay, they've got that in place, but that's going to be this kind of detail that we're going to use for this. Okay, so that might also be cut. It depends if you want to show this from cut, but for this example, I'm just going to show the slightly thicker looking down. Okay, here's my edging detail. My planting, we'll have a look at that in a minute. And now I've got two steps. So let me just see I've got that right. So this will be step 1 and step 2. That's good. Okay, this we can leave on the edging layer, or we can use it, we can tell it to, we can change this to steps. Okay, it just depends what you want to do exactly. Okay, but in this instance, I can leave it on that same layer. Edging is fine because you want it to read the same as the edging. Okay, so yeah, you can see very quickly I've managed to reproduce this more or less, and we will introduce some more of the edging a bit later, and we'll put a hatch line, so we'll use a hatch line for that. But yeah, I'm going to keep my edging layer going here. So this layer, I'm just going to grab one, edging. We can call this tiling or floor finish. Doesn't matter. Just remember your hatch will be different. Okay, here I might start a new layer called paving. There's no paving already, so let's start a new layer called paving. I'll leave it white, 0.2 is fine. Okay, so here I'm just going to go alpha line. Just remember, this must all be set by layer always. I haven't worked like that at the moment, so let me just address that. So if you have worked and that setting hasn't been changed by layer, okay, the quickest way to address that problem is to select all the line work in your project. You're going to press Control 1. You're going to open up the Properties dialog box, or you can go to View. You can go to Properties. Okay. All right, so in a nutshell, this is how you're going to set up your drawing, get everything working well. So here in line types, you're just going to make sure everything is by layer. Don't worry about the rest of this. Everything else looks good by layer. Okay, so everything is by layer. Okay, so I've started setting up my drawing environment. So this is a good place to start. So I've brought in an image, I've started setting up the layers, and I'm starting to set up the basic line work. Okay, so that's it for part 1.